Hello, welcome to my daily updates on the Transcontinental Race. So the race kicked off last night. So this is my first report of day one. I'll be doing them each evening. For the next 10 days or so, I'm actually traveling to Kyrgyzstan for the Silk Road Mountain Race next Wednesday. So there's only so much I'm going to be able to do, but hopefully the races will be won by that point at least. So without further ado, let's head over to the race tracker. And as always, on the first kind of 24 hours of any of these races, especially the Transcontinental Race with 450 starters, is pretty chaotic. It's quite hard to sort of get any real patterns at this point. So, I mean, I think we're going to have to wait for a couple of days until we get a real overall picture of, the main contenders. But as you can see, the riders are spread all the way through the north of Spain. If you saw my preview video, you would have known there's a start parcours, which took the riders heading west out to the coast. And then this first checkpoint and parcours section in the Picos de Europa, which the leading riders have just reached. So I'll have a little dig into that shortly. Before I go any further, though, I do need to say thank you to POC, who are sponsoring this this coverage. They do really cool helmets and glasses, amongst other things. I've been using their gear for a couple of years now. So you can see on the website they've got loads of cool different shapes and sizes of glasses. I've been using these Propel glasses for most of this year actually. I first started using them on last year's TCR race. The reasons I like these, they're kind of the aero kind of glasses. I'll put one, show you. Aero glasses for the in the POC range. I don't wear them because they help my aerodynamics. I suspect maybe if you're sprinting to win a Tour de France stage in a bunch sprint, they might save you a watt or so. But that's definitely not the speed I ride. However, I just like the fit. They fit my face. I quite like the fact that they're kind of adjustable on the armrests and they hook around your ears pretty well. So yeah, that's the glasses I use, and POC are offering everyone who's watching this coverage a 20% discount. So I'll put the link on the screen. I think you just have to sign up on the website and you get things like free shipping, 20% off pretty much anything on the website. So yeah, a big thank you to POC. They're also supporting the TCR. They're sponsoring one of the checkpoints as well. So yeah, big thank you to POC. So let's dig into this map and try and make kind of a bit of a make heads or tail of the start of this race anyway. As you can see, absolute chaos. It looks like most riders have ridden or gone north along the coast. If you saw the preview video, kind of suggested that would be the case. And you can see there's kind of a couple of different routes that the majority of people are taking. And basically they're all heading up to this parcours section here. And we've had the first couple of riders through. If you go on to, Follow My Challenges is the tracking software. Lost Dot also have a really good resource on their website. And you can see the first couple of riders have actually been through the checkpoint. So Nicolas Chatelet and Martin Moritz, they're the first two riders to reach the checkpoint. And if you remember yesterday, or if you watched on the preview video, you'll know that there was a kind of a bit of the way that Lost Dot have laid out this first parcours and checkpoint gives you a few options. So I'll just zoom in on Riber GPS. They're the race partner, and they put together this really cool map for me with all the parcours sections at least on there. So I was talking yesterday, the checkpoint, I think it's in Sotres. Let me just double check that. Somewhere up here, not quite Sotres, just a bit before. But you can see by this map that there's a kind of a climb up, and then the road disappears and the parcours starts in here. And it looks like both Martin and Nicholas have decided to go straight up and over, and it looks like there's going to be some gravel riding if you choose that particular section. So the checkpoint is, it will be down here somewhere, probably on this hostel here. Let me go to Google Maps just to make things a little bit clearer. So the checkpoint will be here. So the riders will have to go and get their brevet card stamped. And then it looks like they are taking this road up to the top, which looks pretty good, to be honest. Nice and tarmacked. However, you then need to link that to the start of this checkpoint. And you can see up here, the road runs out. And it looks like it's kind of a gravel track. There's not really any Google kind of imagery on there. We did touch on this yesterday. I mean, it looks spectacular. Look at that, wonderful. But it does look like there is probably a dirt road heading up and over. So the first two riders, as you know, I questioned yesterday, they've decided to go straight on. I do wonder if other riders will go back down and loop around. Christoph Strasser, who's in the race, he's won it twice now. He's famous for trying to avoid off-road at all costs. So we'll see if he decides to loop around, or if any others riders who are maybe a bit more road orientated rather than kind of into their gravel riding or off-road riding decide to loop back down and back up. I did see some data. There's not much difference in terms of climbing. Obviously there's a bit more distance on road, but you'll be going quite a bit faster on the road. It might not make too much difference. Personally, if I was doing it, I go over the off-road. I'm a bit of an off-road rider. And then this parkour, it just looks savage down to Beges. Let me just go back on here, and there was a little Google dot. If you saw the preview yesterday, you'll see, and you can see it's basically this where are we, it's just this kind of brutal concrete road. So if you're coming up from the bottom here from the town, that's going to be a hell of a slog on that concrete road. And if you're coming down, you want to be taking it careful, because it could be easy to cock up, especially if you're going in the dark on this kind of pretty rough concrete surface. But I mean, look at that. It's a shame almost. I mean, the first ride is it's 7 p.m. here in the UK, 8 p.m. local time. I suspect it's going to be dark by the time pretty much everyone gets through there, if they're going to carry on tonight. But do bear in mind that the riders, they're now just over 24 hours in. Started at 8 p.m. local time, so there's going to be some tired people, and most of the people in the front part of the race, I suspect, would have had very little sleep, if any. Maybe further back people would have stopped, but certainly I tend to focus more on the sort of the front end of the race, and I suspect none of these riders will have slept at all. So let me just go through some of these names. So it looks like Wittfilder is just turned up at the checkpoint. So he's the third rider. I'm not particularly familiar with any of these front three riders. There's so many new riders coming into the sport nowadays that I kind of it's just people crop up from everywhere. So it'd be interesting to see how these are. At this stage, 24 hours in, I don't take too much heed on where people are on the road, just because some people just go too hard too soon. Some people can't sustain it. Some people might have different sleeping strategies. Some people just might not be able to ride a week plus without slowing down at some point. So I won't take too much heed on it at the moment. But names that kind of we need to keep an eye out, who are maybe proven on this kind of race, are people like Victor Bozzoni. We spoke about him in the preview on the podcast with Becky. He's last year he did a solid ride. He was top 25, but what he managed to leave his passport in the north of the Alps. But he crossed over the Alps, realised he left his passport, crossed back again, picked up his passport from the hotel, then rode back across the Alps, was way down the field, but chased back to 25th. So I'm quite excited to see how he gets on. I actually raced him at the Tracker. I say I raced him. I was in the same race as him at the Tracker 540 gravel event back in May. And basically, there was a big bunch together and he just disappeared up the first proper steep mountain, and that was that. He won it. Andre Bachmann, he's a guy to watch, well proven. Marin de Saint-Exupéry, this is his fifth start. Marin does tend to start fairly hard, but he can ride these things. So yeah, it's I think these kind of riders here are probably more of a relevant kind of way marker as to what's going on. Victor's especially good at climbing, so we'll see. Other riders, Justinas Leveika, we know he's exceptionally fast, exceptionally strong. He did have some problems. I'll come on to the social media side of things later on. So he did get a little bit delayed in the night. But overall, it's not really done in too much of problem. And you know that if you're around Justinas, then you're on a pretty hot pace. So I'd say around here is kind of, going well, sustainably. Other riders that we may want to look at, Lucas Strittmatter, he was a favourite. Who else did we have? The first woman was, it certainly was when I checked now, was Jana Kessenheimer. Where is she? She's up here. She's going slightly further north than the other riders. Obviously, route planning it's a self-planned route. So it looks like she's going a slightly different way around. I imagine she'll probably cut through one of these roads up here, possibly here. She'll have a reasoning for sure. So that's Jana. Maybe she'll sleep tonight before the checkpoint, but it looks like she's got a pretty solid gap in the women's race. Second place and third place, I find them in here. Jamie Wilson, she's a previous winner. Cynthia Carson, this is her first time. Myself and Becky spoke about this in the podcast. If you haven't checked out UltraScape podcast, you can listen to our preview. And then Lael Wilcox, she was in here somewhere. Where's Lael? Looks like, is that Lael in there? No, that's Sarah Buzlet. Again, a name I'm not super familiar with. So yeah, Lael was right up there as well. But as I said, on the first day of these races, it's pretty chaotic, and it's hard to kind of basically kind of figure out what the hell's going on. So yeah, it looks like it's early days still. The race is just forming, but early leaders are on that parkour, and I think tomorrow night's update is going to show us a hell of a lot more, and I suspect riders are probably going to be heading towards, almost on the second parkour by tomorrow night, certainly crossing the Alps and starting the parkour section and onto the checkpoint. So yeah, I'll come back to that tomorrow. Just a reminder, this resource is here. TCR do their daily race reports as well. Obviously, I'm doing this from afar. I'm in the UK, but they've got a media team on the ground, so they'll be able to get a lot more insight into certain riders. They've also got the podcast, so well worth a listen there. As a matter of fact, I will be running this as a podcast as well. If you'd rather listen to it rather than watch it, I'll put it on the UltraScape podcast feed as well. So check that out. So yeah, really good website here for all the information. So yeah, right now let's do some social medias. So as I said, they've got a full media team on the ground at the TCR. So there's plenty of good photos and stuff up on there. They've also got good stories, so I'll just run through some of the stories. And of course, this is the first time the race has started in Santiago De Compostela, and it's a pretty spectacular setting here in the main square in front of the so that's the cathedral there. I don't know, always see these photos and always want to then be on the start line. So maybe I'll get to line up there at some point. So it starts at 8 p.m. So riders straight into the night. That's Marin de Saint-Exupéry. It's got a tighter fitting jersey this year. I think last time we did it, he told me he wore the XXL size, so it was more comfortable. But I think nowadays aerodynamics make a big difference in these races. Take a look at Justina Slovakia here. Full frame pack, fast wheels, Trek Madon bike, aero arm warmers, tight jersey, almost a skin suit, aero helmet. It's almost the stage or the way that things are going now with the TCR on these faster road races, and you can see how fast Justinas is looking there. So yeah, loads of really cool photos, and obviously everyone's just raiding gas stations in the midnight. That looks like it's Lael Wilcox. Going to be a favourite from the women's race, and it looks like it's been pretty cloudy. I did hear reports of drizzle, so yeah, a bit of a chilly night on that coast. I imagine the wind does blow in quite quickly, and this is our tandem rider. We spoke about them in our podcast the other day. So yeah, I bet tandem it's probably good in certain sections, but once you're in those mountains, I bet it's pretty hard work. So yeah, so that's the stories on the Transcontinental Race Instagram page. Check those out. Lael Wilcox, obviously probably one of the biggest names in the race. Pretty cool photos at the start here in front of the cathedral there. And this is the bike, and I thought I'd just highlight this. So Lael looks like she's riding the Specialized gravel bike. So she's a Specialized athlete, and she's running basically gravel tires. I think they're 42 mil. That the Specialized ones, the Pathfinders, and also the RockShox Rudy Fork. So basically she's gone for comfort, and to be honest, I think I've been thinking about, I love bike checks and bike tech and stuff, and when I do the TCR again, I was thinking I probably would ride on a gravel frame set with gravel wheel set, probably like a redshift suspension stem, and then maybe not like quite an aggressive tire as that, but certainly a big fat slick tire for TCR. There's just so much gravel in it nowadays, and the roads are always crappy. And I just think comfort pays off in the long term, and then obviously get your body as aero as you can in terms of clothing and stuff. So yeah, that's Lael. Interesting to see that bike, and I think that tells us she'll be going over the gravel tonight, and she'll be taking a few more risks off-road on her route. So I look forward to seeing how Lael gets on. This was a story 20 hours ago, so about 4 hours into the race. Justinas Levejka, early troubles. So it looked like he's stopped pretty late, got a couple of coffees, and I actually found out that his main light died. So he ended up riding with a tiny head torch most of last night. I'm not sure if he's going to stop and fix it, or whether he's just going to battle on with what he's got, or whether he needs to stop and recharge. But yeah, not plain sailing for Justinas in the first part. And then Christoph Strasser, obviously he won it twice, always a favourite for this race. He's not got the fastest start. If we look back at the map, he is a bit of a way off. If we can find him in here, he was somewhere around this area. As I said, just chaos at the moment. It's hard to find anyone. But he wasn't right at the front, but I wouldn't be too concerned with Christoph. He's got a habit of starting a bit more steady and then gradually building into it. And he posted some cool stories, which are now no longer available. So here we go. That's last night, the sunset. Looking cool.
So now the race is 2.5 hours after the start, and I'm just settling in, finding my rhythm, and enjoying the beautiful scenery at the coastline here.
So yeah, he said it, just settling in, and he'll take his time. That's Victor Bozzoni. He's probably going to hit the checkpoint in the next hour or so. Riding into the night there. So yeah, pretty cool to see Christoph back again. So yeah, looking forward to see how and if he progresses through the field. So I think that's going to be it for my update this evening. I'll be back tomorrow on day 2, and I think we'll have a bit more structure and clarity to the race by that point. And hopefully by that point, everyone will be on their social media a bit more, so we'll have some more stories to dig out, because the first couple of days, everyone tends to be a bit more focused, and then as they tire a little bit, they tend to just want to get their phones out and post stuff, which is great for us. Maybe not so good for their race speed. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for POC for supporting. Go check out their link and the discount on their website. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching and listening.